Hi people, today we are looking at shoulder dystocia as part of an obstetric emergency, something that we also need to know and have it at our fingertips. So we'll just start with the case scenario. It talks of this mother, 40-year-old multiglandipara with gestational diabetes and was admitted in the first stage of labor at 42 weeks of gestation. Progress of labor was monitored using a pathograph, progressing well. Few hours later, when the signs of second stage became evident, she was immediately transferred to the delivery room. The second stage nurse was very ready to conduct the delivery. So this mother was very cooperative, was first instructed on how to bear down, and then the nurse went on to deliver the baby. But unfortunately, following crowning, extension, restitution, and subsequent delivery of the baby's head, any further effort of the mother to bear down and the nurse to support the perineum became fruitless. So it talks of discuss further management. So at this case scenario, we are having many things about shoulder dystocia. We're just looking at like this mother. They are saying she's a grand multipara. That's also a tip that you need to know. Then has gestational diabetes. Then was admitted at 42 weeks of labor. So at this point, we're having so many clues. Then the progress of labor was monitored during with the pathograph, which is that good. Then we're also having issues with. They are saying, unfortunately, following crowning, there no any other further effort. So at this point, what comes to your head? What might be the problem? So you can just put your answer at the comment section. So it says discuss further management. So as we'll be finishing our presentation today, will be at par with discussing the further management of this matter. So shoulder dystocia, it's mainly known as we can say failure of the shoulders to traverse the pelvis spontaneously after birth. So immediately after birth, the shoulders have to pass well through the pelvis. So if it does not pass well, that becomes dystocia. So we talk of shoulder dystocia. So you can just define it as a failure of the shoulders to traverse the pelvis spontaneously after birth of the head. So the head has already been delivered, but the shoulders, they are unable to traverse the pelvis spontaneously. So you can also say failure of the shoulder to rotate spontaneously into the anterior posterior diameter of the pelvic outlet after delivery of the head. So for you to be at par, you also need to review the 8 steps of mechanism of labor, of which talked of things with the engagement, descent, those all other things, the 8 steps of labor. So what are the risk factors? What might predispose one to shoulder dystocia? What might cause the fetus to fail to pass through the transverse pelvis spontaneously after birth of the head? The head is delivered, but the shoulders are unable to deliver. So we talk of predisposing factors, we talk of fetal anomalies, we talk of postpartum pregnancy. Remember, our question, we were told of she was 42 years of gestation, unusually large baby, maternal age over 40 years. Our mom was 40 years. That's also advanced maternal age. High parity. Her mother was grand multipara, so she is a candidate of shoulder dystocia because of she has more predisposing factors. Then maternal diabetes and gestational diabetes. Her mother had gestational diabetes. So if you try check her with the predisposing factors, she had all the predisposing factors. So this is what we term as shoulder dystocia. So you find that this is the head. The head is already delivered, but the shoulders, they are unable to be delivered. So this point we are terming it as shoulder dystocia. So diagnosis, how will we come up with a proper diagnosis of shoulder dystocia? So we need to watch out for the following signs. Kindly take key of this. When you're having a slow advancement of the head with crowning or failure of the head to rotate externally. So we've already delivered the head, but see, we always try to rotate it, but it fails to rotate. So at this point, we need to, it's also a warning sign. Then 2, slow crowning of the head. The head has started to crown, but it's crowning slowly. At this point is also a warning sign. Then there are difficulties in extension of the face during delivery of the head. Then there is slow restitution of the occiput to the lateral position during labor. So those issues with mainly the external rotation of the head and the slow crowning, those are the warning signs that we need to check. So we need to, in case now we've done all these other things and we are unable to deliver the shoulder, we need to remember of so many things like the damage to the brachial plexus, and it might affect the infant later. So as part of the process of managing this shoulder dystocia, she'll take the following steps. You need to explain to the mother the process and reassure her, because at this point she'll also be tensed and she'll be thinking what's happening. Then we need to position the mother either left lateral with the buttocks at the edge of the bed, or lithotomy position with the buttocks slightly beyond the edge. Then you also need to call for help, someone to be there to help you. So there are various maneuvers that we ought to do so as to help in delivering the shoulder in case you're having this dystocia. And we mainly, the first thing that you're supposed to do, we need to ask for help. So we can use this logarithm, is known as ALMA. It talks of ask for help. So you are requesting for help from a qualified person, a pediatrician, or a doctor, or a nurse, or a midwife that is around there. So the essence that you are calling these people, in case we are having things like we need to do resuscitation to the baby, a pediatrician might help. We need to do other surgical interventions, the obstetrician might help. So as if we have asked for help, then we do leg hyperflexion. So when we hyperflex the legs, now we are trying to do McRoberts maneuver. And these are other maneuvers that we can do with Rubins, with manual removal of, we can do episiotomy, we can do rollover. So there are various maneuvers, but the most common one that we always do McRoberts maneuver. That's the most useful position to help in this shoulder dystocia. So you just need to know that we call for help. Then before doing McRoberts, you can evaluate. Probably the perineum is not that conducive for the shoulder to pass through, so we can evaluate for episiotomy. Then we can hyperflex the leg. Now we are doing McRoberts maneuvers, we are giving suprapubic pressure. Then we do other maneuvers, we try to roll the patient so as to deliver the baby. So we said with the invasive procedures and the non-invasive procedures, the aim, we're just trying to get the baby out. So the first one, we've talked of McRoberts maneuver, and this involves, we ask the mother to lie flat on the back. Then we bring her knees as far as possible to the chest. We are trying to hyperflex. So at this point, the midwives tries to create pressure gently on the mother's leg and her abdomen. So the impact of anterior, posterior shoulder is always released by this pressure. So if we hyperflex, your knees towards your chest, so that impact will always cause the anterior posterior to be released by pressure. So in case you've done this, then you can also evaluate for episiotomy. If it's indicated, then you can do that. So in case, now this is McRoberts maneuver, how it's done. So we had talked, we've already delivered the head, but the shoulders are stuck at this point. So we can do the McRoberts maneuver, which we've said we apply the pressure. And this aids in releasing the shoulders that are always dislodged at this point. Then with other maneuvers, you can go check them. One is like the grass skin maneuver. That's how the mother is always placed. With other manipulative procedures that we can do, like Rubin's maneuver, with the Woods maneuver, with Zanavelli maneuver, and other things. So how can we prevent a shoulder dystocia? So we need to advise the mother on the proper diet. If the mother is diabetic, we need to control the sugars. Then we need to do a proper assessment before trying labor. So if the baby is that too large for gestation, we might opt for other things that you can do. So what are the complications of shoulder dystocia with the maternal and the fetal complications? I'll start with the fetal complications. We can talk of neonatal asphyxia because now the child takes too much time there, so we're at risk of asphyxia. Then brachial plexus injury might be there because of, now we are trying to use force. Then neonatal morbidity can be there. Then maternal complications, we can talk of 2/3 of the patient will have blood loss for more than 100 minutes from the injury. Then maternal death might result from the uterine rupture because we are having more things at this point. Any questions so far?